think the first one can apply to that because they wait for they do ruku, but they don't do sujood, one of the groups, one of the lines.
Mm-hmm.
So I think the first one can apply with that. So if like the first line does the ruku together, and then they do the sujood, they do the first rak'ah, then the second group will do that same. If you understand what I'm saying. And the second line would do the second rak'ah, and then the first line would do their second rak'ah, which would be the third rak'ah of the Prophet, and then actually no.
Okay, barakallah khair. Good effort anyway. You tried. Barakallah fiqh. It's a bit little simpler than that. It's a matter of course, it's 3 rak'ahs. So Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam, he prays 2 rak'ahs with one group and 1 rak'ah with the other group. Now the issue is, which group does he do 2 rak'ah with, the first group or the second group? So majority of the ulama, they say that Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam does 2 rak'ah with the first group. Okay, so if he's divided into 2 groups, he would do 2 rak'ah with the first group, and that would leave 1 rak'ah for him. Okay, and 1 rak'ah for that first group. Then he would do that 1 rak'ah with that second group, and of course that would leave 2 rak'ah for them. Right, so and then Rasulullah, after doing his third rak'ah, then he would do it according to the descriptions that we looked at. So majority of the ulama, they say that he does 2 rak'ah with the first group and 1 rak'ah with the second group. There are a few scholars who say that the other way round, 1 rak'ah with the first group and 2 rak'ah with the second group. Okay, so I won't try and go into describing on them, probably confuse myself as well, but I'll let you inshallah think about that. Yes, go on.
The problem is, what if one of the groups says, we want to perform the 2 rak'ah? So
no, the imam would decide. The imam decides what to do. Imam, and they of course they follow the imam. So imam decides what to do, and they follow the imam. So
you know the description you mentioned. Why couldn't that be valid? You know the one where they all pray together.
Yes.
But they just alternate in who goes into sujood first. So that could work, couldn't it?
How would you do it?
So everyone's praying together.
Yes.
But when the Prophet ﷺ goes into, everyone does ruku together, stands up together. When the Prophet ﷺ goes into sujood, first group go into sujood.
Yes.
Other group remains standing.
Mm-hmm.
The Prophet ﷺ then raises, stands up. Second row goes into sujood and just catches back up into the second rak'ah.
Mm-hmm.
And couldn't it work that way, or am I missing?
No, it could work that way. I mean, that first description is actually probably the simpler one because they're all praying together, isn't it? So if Rasulullah is doing first rak'ah, so you got the first line who does sujood with him, and then after they're done sujood, the second line does sujood. So then the second line now would come forward. Yeah?
In that description, is there movement as well?
Yes. Yes, so the second line now would come forward in the second rak'ah, wouldn't they? Okay, so Rasul does second rak'ah. Now the third rak'ah, what would happen? Third rak'ah, does that mean now that second line goes back, and the front line goes back and the second line comes forward? Yeah, so wallahu alam. I mean, the details, quite honestly, the best way to practice is go onto the field and try it there. But this is, I'll leave it there inshallah, because some of it will become a bit confusing if we go into too much detail inshallah. So you've got a broad idea of the descriptions of the 6 hadith that we have. And as Ibn Qayyim rahimahullah says, other descriptions, they all go back to these 6 hadith. Now, this is of course, olden days when the enemy is in front of you and the armies are small. Now, of course, modern warfare is very different, and some of these descriptions would not be, is not going to be possible to put into practice or implement. So, what do the Muslim armies do today, or how do they carry this out? What Shaykh Uthaymeen rahimahullah, he says that they try to observe the salah as best as they can in accordance with one of these descriptions, as best as they can. Whatever, depending on the situation, So they try to perform the salah as close to the sunnah as possible, given their circumstances. So this is what they try and do, inshallah. The other thing is, the other last couple of more points, inshallah ta'ala, is these descriptions that we described, all of them, where it's possible to establish a jama'ah or divide the groups. Now, if the situation is very intense, it's not possible to do this, then what happens? Where you can't, divide the groups and you can't face the enemy, or you can't perform any of these at all. So what do you do in those situations? What happens then? Any ideas, brothers?
Pray later.
Pray later. Okay, that's one possibility. Any other possibilities?
Maybe you have the intention of combining. So, for example, if you are fighting during Dhuhr time, you have the intention that during Asr, inshallah, will combine Dhuhr and Asr later on. Would that be?
Okay, that is a possibility.
Unless it goes until Maghrib, the fighting, so then it will be a problem.
Okay, so let's suppose you're not going to have time to combine. You have to do the salah. Okay, so can you leave the salah until the time is gone, or is there another possibility? Now, in this situation, what happens, as Allah Azza wa Jalla says, فَإِنْ خِفْتُمْ فَرِجَالًا أُرُكْبَانًا, that basically, that if the situation is such and that the fear is so intense that there is no way of doing the salah as described in this ahadith, then Allah Azza wa Jal has allowed the Muslims to pray in whatever situation they are, whether it be riding or on foot, facing the Qibla or facing away from the Qibla. Okay? And in the case of ruku or sujood, then if it's not possible to do that in that situation, then simply by lowering of the head for ruku and sujood. Okay, so it's not possible for the Muslims to observe salah according to those ahadith. So they are now allowed to pray on foot, just simply standing if they are facing the enemy standing, or if they happen to be riding or in vehicles or whatever else, whether it's facing towards the Qibla or away from the Qibla, they pray. If they can do ruku or sujood, they do ruku and sujood. But if they can't do that, then simply by lowering of the head, for the case of ruku, just slightly lowering it. In the case of sujood, lowering it a little more than that. Okay? And this is the proof for this, of course, the ayah that I just mentioned, also hadith of Ibn Umar radiallahu ta'ala anhuma in Al-Bukhari. He says that فَإِنْ كَانَ خَوْفُ أَشَدُّ مِنْ ذَلِكَ. He said if fear is more intense than that, صَلُّوا رِجَالًا وَقِيَامًا. They pray standing or on foot or رُكْبَانًا, riding مُسْتَقْبِلَ الْقِبْلَةِ وَغَيْرِ الْمُسْتَقْبِلِهَا, facing the Qibla or not facing the Qibla. Okay, and also Nafi, he says that I think that Abdullah ibn Umar narrated this from the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam. So this is something going back to Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam in the case of intense fear, where those descriptions are not possible. Now, can this be done in jama'ah or individually? Some of the ulama allow this description to be done in jama'ah also. Others disallow it. They said that this when the salah is done in this way, it can only be done individually. But some of the scholars, Imam Ahmad and Imam Shafi, allow it to be done in jama'ah. But of course, again, the imam or the leader would judge the situation. Does that make sense, brothers? Okay. Now, one point to note here is that Imam Abu Hanifa, in this situation, they are now facing in whatever direction, and also not going to ruku or sujood. Can they now fight while they're doing the salah? Can they be engaged, in battle with the enemy? Majority of the ulama say yes, that they can be doing their salah, striking with their swords or firing their guns or whatever else, and they are doing the salah. How? In the olden days, it may have been possible. When you've got spears and arrows and so on, it may have been possible. But as I said, today's situation is different. When there's missiles and bullets coming to you in all directions.